back to another episode of Con Todo de Todo. Today we have a special episode on voting, and we are joined by our guest today, Diana Villanueva Saucedo, who is going to be talking about your importance of voting.
Thank you so much for having me on this episode. Delighted to talk about one of my favorite subjects.
Yes, of course. Well, I want to get into our questions, but first, can you give us a little background on yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Diana Villanueva Saucedo. I'm an Associate Vice Chancellor here at Maricopa Community Colleges, and I coordinate our Center for Excellence in Inclusive Democracy, which works at a system level to bring together the system level initiatives around things like DEI, shared governance, a little bit of academic freedom, but civic engagement, which obviously is a huge topic as we get closer to elections.
Yes, nice. Well, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get into my first question.
Great.
So the first question is, what does civic engagement mean to you, especially within the context of the Latino community?
So civic engagement, the definition that we use here at Maricopa Community Colleges is taken from the Carnegie Foundation, and it talks about working to make a difference in the civic life of our communities. I think people sometimes make it more than it needs to be. If you just want to make your community a better place, you want to make your neighborhoods a better place, your families live in a place that is optimal for their health and well-being, that is civic engagement. And so I sometimes think that students make it more than it is. It's just that if you want to make a good thing happen in your community, that can be civic engagement.
Okay.
And I think the misconceptions often are that it has to be related to politics. It can be through political or non-political processes. So anything that you are doing to contribute to your community's well-being, that is civic engagement.
Yes. What are some things that students could do more to be engaged?
If you have a passion for anything, which I know our students are passionate about a lot of different issues, you name one issue, there is an organization out there doing something about it. So whether it's giving of your time as a volunteer, whether it's giving your resources. I have a good friend, her passion is veterans issues, so she tries to shop at veteran-owned businesses. It can even be as simple as making conscientious choices, where you give your time, where you give your resources, and certainly this election season, being an informed voter, really doing your research so that you know what you're voting on.
Yeah, I feel like as a student and now as an employee, something that I feel the pressure of is when it comes to voting and politics, I feel like I have to be knowledgeable of absolutely everything, and there's so much pressure in that in and of itself. So it causes disengagement, and then you go into it not knowing what to do, and it's almost like I feel frantic doing it. So I'm sure that a lot of our students feel that way as well, huh?
It can be intimidating, and this year the ballot is very long. So if you live in Maricopa County, your ballot is 2 full pages front and back. We have not had a ballot this lengthy in 20 years. I think the last time was 2006 or 2004.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since we've looked at this many issues, and all the more importance to do what good students do anyway, right? We do our homework.
Yes.
There is no one individual that can be knowledgeable about every single item that is on the ballot, because we're running the gamut from federal races to state to county to local, the statewide propositions, there's 2 countywide propositions. It's impossible to know everything. So put that out of your head, students. You do not have to be the expert on everything. What you do have to do is do your diligence and research each issue so that you are making informed votes and informed choices.
Yes. So this is a side question that I have. How would you recommend going into it if this is your first time voting, especially?
So take a deep breath. Hopefully you have received it by mail, or you can visit beballotready.vote. And again, that's a great website as a resource, beballotready.vote. You can literally plug in your address and receive an electronic version of what your ballot will look like.
Okay.
So you can take your time looking at every single race that's on the issue, every single proposition that's on the issue, and again, make an informed choice. You can even go to your vote center, if you want to vote in person rather than returning it by mail. You can take a little cheat sheet with you with all of your answers and just fill it in as you go.
Yes, perfect. That's good news, because especially if you're going to go in person, it's a lot to have to remember.
It's a lot to remember.
You can't take a cheat sheet for this one.
You can definitely take a cheat sheet.
Good.
I advise voting early if at all possible.
Yeah.
Because of the lengthy ballot, I think the lines the day of voting are going to be tremendous. So the more that you can get your ballot in early, even better. You can go to Maricopa County Elections website, find out where a vote center is near you. You can vote early. And the tip is, if you vote early, typically campaigns will stop sending you stuff. So how many out there have already gotten spammed on your phone or receiving things in the mail? they stop spending money on you if they know you've already voted.
Nice.
So it's just an extra plug for why you want to vote early.
I'm going to vote early.
Good
for
for
sure.
you.
For sure. So what are some challenges or myths you've encountered around the Latino political participation, and how do you think we can address them?
I think there's a lot of myths that the Latino population is monolithic, and it certainly isn't. I know Latinos that vote Republican, that vote Democrat, that vote independent, and are crossover voters. In fact, there's some research out of the Pew Research Center that Latinos are more likely to be crossover voters, those that don't follow any one particular political party, more likely to jump party lines, if you will. Got a couple of statistics for you in terms of the importance of the vote.
Yeah.
Latinos in Arizona tend to skew younger demographically, and so it's a younger voting bloc, and right now it represents Latino eligible registered voters represent about 25% of the electorate. So that is a hugely powerful population that is now voting.
Yeah. Okay. So then how can we better educate and inspire younger generations to understand the importance of their vote and voice in politics?
Any issue you care about, there is going to be a political component. There is somebody voting on how money gets spent, what policies get put into place. So when people say, I'm not interested in politics, it kind of scares me, anything you care about in your day-to-day life will have some sort of connection to politics, and politics will impact your day-to-day life. So it's really important to acknowledge that moving forward, and you don't want choices to be made for you. If you opt out of elections, you are letting others make decisions for you.
Yeah.
And so this is your opportunity to make sure that your voice is heard. And I'll give you an example. So Congressional District 3, this is a congressional race. We had 2 Democrats in the primary. And so primary elections, the Republican Party figures out who their candidate's going to be, the Democrats figure out who their candidate's going to be, and then they kind of battle it out in November. Congressional District 3 skews very heavily Latino and Democrat. And so whoever wins that Democratic primary is pretty much a shoo-in for the congressional race. There were 2 very popular people going at it in the race. It came down to a recount and a difference of 39 votes. I've had more people at my house for dinner than 39. That was the difference between someone that's going to represent us in Congress. So when people say your vote doesn't matter, it absolutely matters. And that's just one of many stories I could tell you why voting is so important. So again, you opt out of voting, you opt out of having decisions made that reflect who you are and your values.
Yes, I agree. So if you could give one message to every Latino out there about the power of their voice and their vote, what would it be?
Don't lose this opportunity to make your voice heard. You certainly don't want decisions being made for you. And the other item is to make a plan to vote, and we've already referenced this. It's a very lengthy ballot, but a lot of very critical issues. If you live in Maricopa County, you're going to be asked to consider 15 propositions, 13 statewide propositions and 2 specific to Maricopa County. One is Prop 479, which is an extension of a half-cent sales tax to focus on transportation. So if you've driven a road or driven a freeway, this has impacted your life. This is a continuation of that. Prop 486 is specific to community colleges. So Maricopa community colleges, like many districts across the state, we are subject to something called the expenditure limitation. It's a math formula that calculates what our spending cap should be. Right now, we are over that limit. We're subject to penalties because of that, and so the only way to correct this long term, the governing board decided to go to voters, and Prop 486 is on the ballot. A yes vote, and I'm simply going to tell you what a yes vote does and what a no vote does, and everybody make your minds up on your own. A yes vote means that Maricopa Community Colleges can continue doing great business and serving our communities well, which I believe that we do. It's not a new tax, it's not new programming, and it's not new money. It's just permission to use the money that we already have in hand.
Yeah.
A no vote means that there will be a $100 million cut from the budget the following fiscal year, which is a huge amount. It's equivalent to the budget of one of our largest colleges or 2 small colleges combined.
Yeah.
So that's the gravity of what is on the ballot. Not to mention an immigration issue on the ballot, abortion on the ballot, several propositions that could change the way elections even function. So please, please, please make sure that your voice is heard this election season. Do your homework. Make a plan to vote. Go up and research ahead of time, go with your cheat sheet, or vote early so that they stop bugging you with campaign items.
Yes. We were talking a little bit earlier about how as Like we take that role on in our families to help not just pick or, fill out our ballots, but also our families as well, helping them with their decisions and kind of speaking about it. What are some best practices that students with their families can do?
Sit down around the dinner table and do this as a family project. I am a lot older than you, and I was still at my mom and dad's house earlier this week going through their entire ballot, making sure that it was filled out front and back, front and back. The Arizona Secretary of State mails out a voter guide, so you probably already received it. It looks like a phone book this year because there's so many items on there. You can do your homework, talk it over as a family, make an informed decision. Clean Elections is another great resource, nonpartisan. It just gives you the facts and you can make your decisions for yourself. The back side of page 1 has that long list of judges. The Judicial Performance Review. You all need to go Google that. Judicial Performance Review gives you information on how every judge has been rated.
Yes.
So there's lots of information out there. You just need to take your time, sit as a family, and crank it out.
Yes, this is not a quick project to do
It
either.
is not.
You got to take a lot into consideration. So make sure to spend that time sitting down with everybody and making sure you guys are all equally informed. So one last question, in case I didn't cover this one. What advice would you give to students in the Latino community who want to be more engaged but don't know where to start?
There are so many organizations out there to start with. My recommendation to all of my students, all of the community members out there, what is something that you are passionate about? Figure that out. I know we are all passionate about things, whether it's ending homelessness or food insecurity or children's welfare or any number of issues. I guarantee you there is an organization out there already working on that issue where you can go learn more about it, where you can give your time, where you can volunteer and you can become engaged. People always ask me, how is it that you're involved in so many things? And I'm going to let you in on my secret. You ready for this? I just show up. That is half the battle. You just show up and start giving of your time and showing your interest, and people will latch onto you, and you will be fully engaged before you know it.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for joining us today, Deanna. We look forward to hopefully getting to work with you more, and hopefully you guys take this as a good resource to help you in your voting journey. So thank you for joining us. Have a good one, and we'll see you for the next episode.